Hi everyone, icstation.com got in contact with me and they sent me these two products for review, and both of them are Class D digital amplifiers that are based around Texas Instruments TPA 3116D2 digital amplifier chips, which we can probably, which are under the heatsinks. And initially I thought that I would do two separate reviews on these, one for this top board, the red one, and the other one, the blue one, but they really complement each other, so I think they should be reviewed in one single video. The similarities between the two that they are using the same chip and they have the same output, which is 50 watts per channel. And they also use quite similar working voltages. So one is 12 to 24 volts, the other one is 5 to 24 volts. So I think they would be ideal for an old laptop power supply, hopefully. The main difference is on the input side. So the top board is more like a classic amplifier. You have a line in input and you have a volume control. You don't have control for tones, so bass and treble, so basically just volume. So that would be like a, idea for a classic amplifier where you have, for example, you can connect your iPod to it via 3.5mm jack cable. And the other one is more like, up to the, let's say, 21st century standards, where the inputs are either a pen drive with MP3s or a micro SD card with, again, music on it, or Bluetooth to connect your phone to and play music from your phone. Before we go into the details of this video, I want to just note that I'm not really an audiophile. I don't have specialized equipment to test these products. So if you need some technical details, you can head over to the Texas Instruments site and test it or check the chip itself. I can only give you my personal feedback on how these devices are performing. Just to have a closer look, this is the first amplifier chip, or the amplifier board, I should say. It has a product code which says XH-M189. So as you can see, there is not much on the other side, on the underside of the board. We have probably the amplifier chip under the heatsink. We have some big caps and some other passives, as far as I can tell. For the power and the speaker outputs, we have some screw terminals, and on the other hand, we have a volume control with a knob, with an on-off switch. And we have some line inputs. So one is a 3.5mm jack input, and the other one is this 0.1-inch header. And with this kit, I also got this small pack, which contains a plastic knob and a couple of screws and standoffs. And as you can see, there are 4 mounting holes on each corner. The other product is slightly bigger in terms of form factor. The main connectors again are screw terminals, so we see power and the two audio outputs for the left and the right speaker. Again, probably the chip is under here. We have a few more but smaller caps and a lot of other integrated circuits here, just most probably for decoding audio and handling the Bluetooth stuff. So again, not much on the underside. This has a product code of XH-M422, and we have 4 buttons on the lower side. So these small tactile switches, and it says mode, play, previous, next, and also volume, minus and plus. So these would be useful for controlling or selecting music from either the SD card or the USB. And of course, when you're using it from Bluetooth, then you have all the controls you need on your phone as well. Before we look at the actual hardware, let's just take a look at the listing of these two devices. So the first one is the one with the Bluetooth, and I'm just going to call it the blue module because of the blue PCB, and that's the XH-M422. And here in the main specs, you see the input voltage range, so 12 to 24 volts, rated output 2 times 50 watts. Bluetooth range is about 10 meters, which I guess is the standard 10 meters. And one good advice here is if you are planning to put it into some sort of DIY box, just make sure it's not a metal one, because that's going to shield the Bluetooth. And yeah, you can see the different functions here. I mean, they are quite self-explanatory. You will see this in the video. but the volume is the long press on the volume or the next to the previous button. So short press is next previous and next, long press is volume up and down. You see some pictures from the product and the essential wiring diagram, which is really simple. So as we have seen, we have on the top the screw terminals, in the middle one is power, and then the left and right are the two speaker connectors. And that's pretty much it, because other than that you have the USB port, the micro SD card, Bluetooth antenna, and of course the 4 buttons. So that's pretty much it. The next product is which I'm going to just call the red one, as the simple amplifier board, the XH-M189. Is again 2 times 50 watts. It's using the same chip, and this goes down all the way down to 5 volts. So actually that would be ideal for a battery operation. So like a 2-cell LiPo or a 4-cell LiPo should be able to power this one. I'm going to mention it later in the video, but out of the 2 different amplifier modules, for me the blue one was better. It had a much nicer sound, and what I could hear that the red module, the simpler amplifier module, in some cases where it was a really loud sound and a lot of bass, I could hear some distortion. So maybe this is a problem that others have experienced as well, because there are some tips here to avoid when you are getting noise in some cases, or you get interference from other drivers. And again, you get the wiring diagram. So same as the one before, the 2 middle connections are power, and then you have left and right speaker, and you have the audio inputs, so the 3.5mm jack and this 3P audio input, and then the volume button with a switch inside. And that's pretty much it. Again, there is another customer video already uploaded here. So let's look at the actual hardware. I'm going to do this test in my garage, which is, well, it might not be ideal because there is, it's a big space, there is a bit of an echo here, which you can probably hear. But at least I think there is some room for the sound, I guess. In the setup, I have these 2 speakers, which are probably about 30 years old, but at least they are made from, I mean, the box is made from wood, so I think they are fairly decent speakers, well, for this setup anyway, and they are rated at 8 ohms and 25/30 watts. So in theory they are a little bit less than what these boards can drive, so I'm probably not going to do, you know, full volume on this. And I have a phone to test the Bluetooth functionality, an SD card, an old 4 gig pen drive, and I also have my old iPod, which I'm going to use with this 3.5mm jack to drive the smaller module, the one which just have a line input. And for the power supply, I'm just using an old laptop power supply from my old laptop, which died. And I'm not going to talk too much about the wiring, because you can see on the listings it's clearly labeled all the connectors, but basically the middle one is always power, and then you have the speakers on either side. Let's test the MP3 or the Bluetooth module first. As you can see, it is powered up at the moment, so I think the green status LED is just to show that it's under power, and the blue one is like, you know, the Bluetooth, different Bluetooth modes. And you see the 4 buttons, so nothing is connected at the moment, and nothing is plugged in, and the Bluetooth is not connected. And so I can go play around with the modes, but I don't really have to. I'm going to show you why. And the volume ones, if I long press the volume buttons, then it's volume, otherwise it's the previous and next track. So if I do that, if I take the volume down, you hear these beeps fading out. So, well, that's basically the volume indication. So I'm going to take it down because actually this is quite loud. Maybe before we start the actual testing, I'm just going to point out something which I really hate about this module. So let me power it up. So I take the power off. Well, there is this pop when the power goes, but actually it's for both of the modules. So if I power it up,
the Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
I mean, really, I would be much happier with a simple like ding dong or something instead of this, you know, Chinese English announcement. And actually it seems that it comes on at the same volume regardless from the volume controls. So, I mean, this is really, really ugly, I have to say. Maybe I will start with the easier one. I'm just going to use the pen drive and the micro SD card to show that functionality. And so I'm just going to plug this in. I have some music here which I downloaded from the SoundCloud, and they should be royalty free, so hopefully it's not going to trigger any of the YouTube royalty algorithm. So I plug this in.
Music.
And it should start playing the music after it scanned the pen drive. So it remembers what you listened last time, and it picks the same, it starts from the same song. So if you halfway through your album, it's going to continue from the next song, well, from the same song that you played last time. And I'm just, I just press play, which, you know, pauses and play, and I use the previous and next button to skip between the songs. So this is no volume. I'm not sure how this is going to come through the camera microphone, but it sounds really good. I mean, it has bass. There is definitely the high notes, the treble sounds, and even though there is no tone control here, the way it sounds at the moment, I'm really happy with it. So I think it is. I mean, in terms of the sound, it is actually really, really good. I like this song because there is a lot of high notes and also bass. So I think that's probably quite good for testing. The other thing I wanted to test with these modules is I wanted to see how much is the background noise. And I'm not sure whether it is doing something clever like turning off the amp when there is no music being played, but there is actually no hiss, nothing at all. And even if I start playing the music, I can't really hear the background noise or the bass hiss which is coming from the amplifier. So it's either really good or I just can't hear from the music because the music is quite loud. But yeah, it's so in that respect I'm quite happy. So I've taken the volume down. I disconnect the pen drive.
Bluetooth mode. The Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
Yeah, wonderful. I mean, these announcements, Jesus, I mean, this is crap. So whenever you unplug either the micro SD card or the this thingy, then it goes back to Bluetooth mode. So if I put the micro SD card in,
music.
and as you can hear, it's playing a different music because I was testing with this micro SD card. So it actually remembers what was the last song on the micro SD card and the and also on the pen drive, which is quite nice. And one nice feature is that if I unplug and if I turn it back on with either the micro SD card or the pen drive connected, then
Bluetooth mode. The music.
So besides the stupid announcement, it will automatically start playing the last song that was previously played. So I think that's actually quite nice because this can be used as let's say if you need an exhibit which needs to play an audio, you just power it on and it starts playing whatever music or audio file you have on the SD card connected. And of course on the micro SD card the controls are exactly the same, so you can pause, you can go to the next one. And of course the volume controls work exactly the same way. So I'm not really using the mode button because as soon as you plug in either the micro SD card or the pen drive, then it automatically goes to that device, and if you unplug it, then it just falls back to Bluetooth. So there's no real reason to use the mode button unless you don't want to take the micro SD card out and you want to change to Bluetooth, which I can do now.
Bluetooth mode. The Bluetooth device is ready to pair.
Yeah, so if I turn the Bluetooth on, actually my device is, so this phone is already connected or paired. Well, I mean, there's nothing really special about that. So it has, you can find a device which is called Bluetooth, and then when you connect,
the Bluetooth device is connected successfully.
You get this wonderful announcement again. So annoyed by it, and I start playing from Bluetooth. I'm playing the same music via Bluetooth and the MP3s from the two different medium. I can't really hear any difference between the two. So they sound exactly the same to my ears from either of these sources. I haven't gone to the extremes of testing the Bluetooth, but the normal range, couple of meters, 10 meters, work without any problems, and I don't experience any cutout in the music. So it works as expected. And of course the play control works via Bluetooth as well, so I can, well, obviously, as you can see, I can stop the music, and I can also skip track from these buttons. I have been playing around with this unit for some time now, even though it's quite cold in the garage. It's probably about 16 degrees. It is the heatsink is only like warm to the touch, so maybe ambient plus 10 degrees. So if you plan to put this in some sort of box or maybe inside the speaker as well, I don't think it would need extra ventilation. It doesn't produce a lot of heat, to be honest. And now with the Bluetooth connected, if I press the mode button, then I can go back to one of the other mediums.
Music.
Now I have the second unit connected. So the setup is the same. I'm using the same power supply. Again, the power supply goes into the middle two connectors. Just watch the polarity, because this has positive on the right and negative on the left if I look at it from the camera. But then on the other one, it's the other way around. But I see a big fat diode right next to the input connection, so I'm pretty sure there is a polarity protection in the circuit. And of course, the speakers are connected on either side. And as I said before, I will be using my iPod for this one. And I could only find this really, it's a cheap looking 3.5 millimeter jack for this test. And I don't really have, in fact, I don't really have any other device which would have a line input in my house. So I guess that's really the only source I can use. Of course, I can use my phone and then just plug this into the headphone jack. And actually I tried, and they sound exactly the same. So when I turn it on, this blue LED comes on, and I'm not sure if you will be able to hear, but there is a distant hiss coming from the speakers. It's not really bad, but the funny thing is, as I turn the volume up, the hiss becomes a slightly bit higher, and then it fades away. So in the full volume, there is less hiss than on like half volume. Maybe you can hear some of it, besides the birds chirping outside. So if I go full volume, and let me start the same music, the same song again. So the amplifier is at full volume at the moment, and you can see that the iPod, when I turned the volume up, it was probably about 60%. And so there is no problem with the volume. I mean, it's plenty loud enough. But and I think when the music starts, the sounds are really nice and clear. Probably not so bassy as the other model. But as soon as the bass starts and it starts really, really loud, I can definitely hear some distortion. And I'm really hoping that it's not because of the setup or the cables. If I use my phone, the results are exactly the same. But it just doesn't sound nice, unfortunately. And I don't really know whether it's... I don't think it's the power supply, because the same power supply for the other one works with fine. These caps are plenty enough, because if I disconnect it, I can see that it powers the unit for like almost like a second. So if there is any ripple in this power supply, I think those should be smoothed out by these caps. So it's probably not that. At least when I disconnect the power, I don't hear the pulp in the speakers. So yeah, unfortunately, I think that's it. I'm hoping that it's going to come through the microphone of the camera, but I mean, if the sound is not really loud, there's not much bass, I think it's really clear. I really like the way it sounds, but as soon as the bass starts, I mean, I can definitely hear distortion. Which is really, really sad, because I thought that I'm not really using this iPod much, because nowadays it's just easier. I have like a JBL Bluetooth speaker, so it's just easier to use Bluetooth and then listen music that way. So I thought maybe if I have this sort of like aux-in amplifier, I will be able to use the iPod a little bit more, but I just don't like the way it sounds, unfortunately. And I tried looking at the board. I mean, if there is any obvious issues with the soldering, I couldn't really see anything. So, and also if I wiggle the input jack around, so it's not like a loose connection or nothing like that. To compare these units, I'm going to play the same song, probably the first 15-20 seconds of it. First you will hear it directly from the MP3 as I put it into my video editor package. After that you will hear it from the Bluetooth module via the speakers, and then finally from the red amplifier module, again from the speakers through the camera. what is my verdict? I would definitely go with the blue unit, the Bluetooth unit, because well, it just has good sound. I mean, I think that's the most important thing about an amplifier. Again, as you can see, you can get a power supply quite cheap. I was able to use an old laptop power supply without any issues. The voltage range on these one are quite forgiving, so what is it, like 12 to 24 volts. And again, most of the power supplies are around an 18, 19, 20 volts, so actually these are ideal for this. They can put out enough power to, or enough juice to power these devices. The red one, the simple amplifier, I'm quite sad about this. I will try to see if I can find another cable just to make sure that it's not the cable which is causing the problem, because I had some, high hopes about this one. Unless you are planning to use this for, like speech only ones where you don't play, so much pop music with a lot of bass, but more like you have an old radio where you listen to talk shows and the amp is gone. Well, that would be great for that, because you can just swap the old amp. Of course, about the blue unit, I mean, these damn announcements, if I could just get that out, if there would be a newer model where they replace those stupid speeches with a simple ding-dong effects, then this unit, I would say, would probably be perfect. As I said before, I'm not really an audiophile, and I might have done something incorrect in my setup. So if you have any suggestions or if you have any comments that I've done something wrong or what I can do to improve the performance on that one, just scroll down to the comment section and, well, leave me a comment. That was my review of the two amplifier boards from icstation.com. You'll find all the relevant links in the video description. Thanks for watching, and hopefully see you in the next video.